So, Janya, you were a student and did your placement with MESHA last semester.
Yep.
So what aspects of the program, well, tell us a little bit about your area of study and why you decided to come and do a placement with MESHA.
Yep. So I'm studying social science and psychology, and currently I'm in my final year. So this was supposed to be my social science placement. But I think I got a good deal. I got both psychology and social science in it. And UniSA allocates placements, so you get to put your preference in, and I was allocated MESHA. And yeah, I was really lucky at that, yeah.
Yeah, cool. What did you find most valuable about doing your placement with MESHA?
I think the first thing would be working on projects related to a population that I was not very familiar with, because I've not come across much in my studies, things related to the veteran and emergency services personnel population. And there's so much to learn in terms of, the culture, identity, what other unique challenges or protective factors that the population has. So like you said, the trainings and when you talk to people, you learn so much, and I think that's one of the main things. And the second one would be working in an interdisciplinary team. So I was working with people from public health, social work, psychology, social science, and I think I'm missing one degree, but that's all right. And I really did think there would be much difference because we were working on the same, brief and same projects, but it really helped me see how they have different perspectives. And the third one would be working with such a lovely team. I really enjoyed, apart from the training as well, I think I've learned a lot, just through informal chats during lunch, things that you're passionate about or things that you're working on, so yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. It was lovely to have you there as well. You're always smiling. And so what about the project that you worked on? How did that sort of add to your knowledge, and did it inform future career directions?
So I think it made me not dislike research, which was a big thing for me. I won't be doing my honors anytime soon, but I would like to do it after seeing how you people work, seeing what my strengths are. I think it's been very good. And the second thing would be the importance of lived experience. I think I would want to work in an area that I have lived experience in, and just the impact of supporting someone who is in a similar situation that you've been in. I think that's really valuable. So.
Great, thank you. Was there anything else you'd like to add about your time in your placement?
I think I want to thank you all for letting me be nosy, because I've, really tried and come up to people, ask them what they're doing, or, how I can be involved in such things. So I really thank you all for your patience and support.
Yeah, thank you. And I can say personally, it was really enjoyable having students like Janya that they do pull you aside and say, tell me more about what you're doing and tell me more about this research. And it's great to be able to share some of the learnings and hear their excitement too, and things that they can take out to future work. So yeah, it was great to have you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to play a bit of musical chairs actually, because I think that's going to be the best way to use the mics. So if we just shuffle up. Hi Rosie.
Hello Karen.
So thank you for coming and joining us today.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so do you want to just tell us a little bit about your role at Jamie Larkham Centre and your experience there, and then perhaps what led you to decide to embark on some research?
Okay, so I'm the nurse consultant at the Jamie Larkham Centre, so I've been there since 2020. My role is primarily to ensure that the care that we're providing is in line with best practice and the best known evidence. So when I first started, I came down to visit you all and see what you did at MESHA, and I was absolutely blown away by the passion and enthusiasm of the team, but also, you know, the level of outstanding international knowledge and research that was happening there, and being involved in the Army Reserves for the last 8 years, I didn't know that you know, there were so many people who were so dedicated to improving the health of veterans and defence personnel. So, yeah, I thought that was amazing, and that's where I met you all and started thinking about how we can work together in research and use the clinical area to inform, even to continue to improve practice.
So, so you've decided to do a master's, a big undertaking, especially when you're working as well. And I know the staff at the hospital, including Dr. Chris Veal, are all behind you on this. So tell us a little bit about your research.
So the research is working in collaboration with MESHA and Flinders University on the impacts of a facility dog on the health outcomes, mental health outcomes in particular, and wellbeing of veterans on the inpatient unit. So we have a collaboration with See Differently, which is Royal Society for the Blind, and they provided us with a facility dog who's been working closely with our veterans. And I suppose my thinking is, well, you know, I'm at the forefront of ensuring that the care that we provide and the interventions that we implement are evidence-based, and there's very little evidence at this present time on facility dogs with veterans. So I thought, well, why not, while we're using this amazing strategy, actually seeing if it's evidence-based, and then the impacts we can provide, you know, potentially nationally by demonstrating if it's effective or not.
He's a big boy too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's huge.
Quattro, a big golden lab.
Yeah.
And Chris Veal is his handler.
He is.
Yeah. So what do you hope that this research might bring to the wider community? Because there isn't a lot of research in this area, is there?
Yeah, that's right. So at the moment, we do know that therapy dogs and facility dogs can improve health outcomes as an adjunct to therapy. But we're hoping to see that Quattro being involved in an activities and therapy program, that he will be able to further enhance the health outcomes of the inpatients at our unit, which will hopefully help support, you know, them to discharge and get home and get back into the community a bit quicker. From, I suppose, a broader scale, we may be able to demonstrate that there's evidence for a facility dog with veterans who have other diagnoses other than PTSD, and, you know, maybe one day we'll be able to work towards evidence to support veterans who have other diagnoses to get their own assistance animal. So we're at the early stages, but that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, no, awesome. It's a great project. And we've got our own facility dog at MESHA, and it's been great having him available to work with our therapist, but also to just be there for staff sometimes too. Henry has been known to cuddle with him occasionally on the floor, but he's there for love for everybody. Yeah. So also, I was just going to ask you about the cultural awareness training, because you were really part of instigating that on the team at JLC, Jamie Larkham Centre, of actually sort of working with us on one of our early models of the military cultural awareness training for the staff. So what sort of do you think is important about military cultural awareness training for the health staff, and how has it supported them?
Yeah, so I suppose coming from my personal background working within the Army, and then as a clinician myself, I was able to easily see where there was maybe communication barriers or barriers in developing a trusting relationship, or even just awareness of the importance of, potentially current serving members attending the gym at 7:30, when really that's when night duty finished. So just being able to be, speak to the clinicians about, well, this is why it could be important that we facilitate this or that we support this for their recovery, because without that cultural awareness, we're not able, I think, to understand and lower those barriers to create a therapeutic relationship from that veteran standpoint. We have very experienced clinicians, but you may be aware that our workforce, particularly in South Australia, is ageing. So we've got a lot of new nurses that are coming through, which is fantastic. They're very passionate, but it was that piece that was missing around how do we get them to really be able to be there for a veteran in a culturally aware way so that we can best support them.
Yeah, it's been a great experience for our team as well, and we're going to talk to Matt in a minute, who's been involved in some of that training. But at first, we were very nervous that we were actually telling perhaps some of the most experienced mental health professionals how to suck eggs, basically, and it was sort of quite daunting, really. But the feedback we've had is that it's helped around just different little nuances of approach in tone and language and understanding different ways to build rapport, not to over-assume knowledge or familiarity. Lots of little subtle things, but really key things to enable that connection and trust around engaging in therapy.
Absolutely. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Rosie. And I'm going to shuffle along again. And Matt, you're up next. So thank you, Matt, for being involved today. And you are new to us, but we're loving having you involved. So Matt, we're going to talk a little bit about, you've been involved in our Gears program, was sort of the first cab off the rank, really, that 12-week psychoeducation skills support program. And you've only decided recently to become involved in the training arm of that program. And what was your, talk us through some of your decisions around deciding to do that and why that was important to you.
That's a great question. How much time do I have? Because I could talk all day. If I may, I might take this opportunity first off just to say thank you to the MESHA team, in particular yourself and the guys and girls. Had it not been for the Jamie Larkin Centre and by proxy MESHA, I would be a statistic. The work that MESHA does and the education that MESHA programs provide helped me rationalise what was going on with myself and saved me. You prevented my wife from being a widow, you prevented my kids from being fatherless, and I can't think of a better forum to thank you personally and your team for the support you've given me. So thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
It's okay. Talking sometimes in forums like this can be a little bit difficult because it's quite personal, but if I may, I will share with you, I guess, my experience and why I have so much passion for MESHA. I think it's understated, in particular the Gears program, I think it's a little understated about what it actually gives participants. It's not a therapy-based course, you're not being treated for your traumas, it's education. And education is, arguably, in my opinion, education is the most important thing. I suffered in silence for many years, battling with my own mind, trying to rationalise what was going on. And it wasn't until I did some of these courses that I actually learnt that my mind wasn't maliciously trying to hurt me. It was trying to help me, it just didn't know how to. So the education that comes with the Gears program and the ability to understand your own emotions and regulate those emotions, your ability to learn how better to interact with people, including family, saved my marriage. It helped me, I guess, repair some fractured relationships with my eldest children, which was my own doing. And it's allowed me to understand myself better, to separate myself from my own thoughts, and to live a better life. And I guess that sums up the reason why I decided to support MESHA and get involved with these training programs, because I can think of no better future for myself being a purpose-driven person, right? I value morals, not money. I could think of no better purpose than to help other people who suffer in silence, and try and give them a better quality of life. And it's not just defence, it's also all of the first responders. I see many broken police officers that I just did not understand how bad their life was. I see many broken paramedics and fireys that I just did not understand how traumatic their experiences were. So it's also helping me, I suppose, understand the community. The reason why, if I may take a minute, Kaz, I'm sorry, I'll go all day.
No, go for it. You're doing well.
The reason why I love Gears in particular is because many other defence programs or programs out there for defence isolate in a defence environment. Gears opens the doors and brings all of the emergency services together. And I think that shared experience really helps people understand the education process and the problems that happen with mental illness, especially moral injury and PTSD. And that's why I've invested so much time in Gears. That's why I became a facilitator. I'm becoming a facilitator. That's why I will invest all of my time, and it will be volunteer. I wish to keep it volunteer because that's what I want to do. I want it to be on my terms. And that's why I will continue to serve with MESHA.
Yeah, thank you. So Matt, you're on the training pathway at the moment, and obviously being lived experience and being that for you, some of your experiences are quite raw, and so we have that staged approach and constantly work with you on how much you're ready for and how much you're not ready for. You're someone that's keen to put up your hand, but is that measured approach, isn't it, of looking after yourself, and having our lead facilitator, Dennis Taylor, who couldn't be with us today, but he's been amazing in supporting the team and supporting that process of making sure that everyone's ready for what they're doing today, and so that's a big part of it. But also, you've been very interested in the cultural awareness training that we deliver, and so you came along to observe that at a couple of sessions and decided to get involved in actually delivering that program, including at JLC, which has been amazing, I think, for the staff, and the feedback I got was just terrific. What have you taken from that personally in terms of that cultural awareness training, and what some of the learnings are, I think, for translating to civilian contexts?
Good question.
That's a big question.
It's a big question, but it's a good question. That cultural awareness training, I personally didn't understand the value of it. I was very keen to go along and have a look at it and see what it meant. And being at the Jamie Larkin Centre, which obviously I've spent a bit of time in the hospital there, being able to present to staff that actually was responsible for my care was a little bit daunting as well. Yeah. And like you were saying, I'm telling professionals to suck eggs here, but what was really amazing was the amount of interaction between the participants and the people presenting. Yeah. And the value, as already has been mentioned here, the value can't be understated, because there were so many things that came out of that. You've got very senior nurses that were involved right back into the 90s with the Repat Hospital, asking very pointed questions about culture-specific elements of defence that they still, to this day, didn't really fully understand. Yeah. And that it makes a big difference with the professionals who are treating these people, because then they have a deeper understanding of the identity, that military identity, I suppose, when we're talking about this in defence respects. The military identity is really strong. Yeah. Right, so it's important to understand that if you're going to develop a relationship with military people. Yeah. So yeah, it's a really good course for that.
Yeah, no, thank you. And how to have those conversations, and what to ask and what not to ask, or how to go about the ask, all those kinds of things. So thank you, Matt. We really appreciate you coming along today and talking to everyone. It's been amazing to have you involved.
Thanks for the opportunity, and I'm more than happy to talk to anyone afterwards as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jeremy, thank you for coming along today to talk about your involvement with MESHA. So I guess to start with, maybe you want to sort of introduce BAE Systems to those who don't know it, and also what led BAE Systems to embark on this VetNet program.
So, thanks very much for having us. It's always great to see familiar faces and meet new people at events like these. So, BAE Systems employs around 6,500 people here in Australia. 98% of what we do is to the Australian Department of Defence. Therefore, we have a lot of customer intimacy. Of those 6,500 people, we've got 650 veterans within our business. About 4 years ago, we realised that yes, we had the policies, yes, we had the procedures, but that was about all as a large employer in terms of what we did for our internal veteran community. And we wanted to do a little bit more. We wanted to be an employer of choice and provide a safe place for them to thrive and be successful in their follow-on career from Defence Service. So we established a Veteran Advisory Committee, which was around a dozen of us who provided very tailored, focused advice and guidance to our senior leadership. That established certain activities and got us engaged in the community around Australia, understanding the various other fantastic organisations and support that is out there. We continued to evolve. It was a bit of a snowball rolling down the hill, to be honest.
And your involvement in that as a veteran yourself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, as I said, there was a dozen of us all pulling together to get the very best outcomes, and we focused on heavily on the employment piece. One, the retention of our current veteran employees, making sure that their careers and their employment was fulfilling and rewarding, and two, providing a career opportunity for those that were transitioning or had been on their own journey post-service life. So personally, over the last 2 years, I've been the chair of what became the Veteran Network Australia. VetNet is our colloquial term that we use because we're lazy and saying Veteran Network Australia takes too long. But we established key strategic partnerships. One of them is with MESHA. I see the APOD gents in the room as well. They're one, Veterans SA as well. And there's some of those organisations. Being able to collectively work together certainly delivers greater outcomes. And that led us to the Veteran Mentoring Program this year.
So the Veteran Mentoring Program is obviously something we've been planning for a while now and working on the development of it. So I guess the team at MESHA that have been working with you, and Sharon Maskell-Dare has been the consultants that are working directly in with BAE as well as myself. What would you say is the idea of the Veteran Mentoring Program, and also the training that has been delivered as part of that, including the cultural awareness training for staff at BAE, as well as the Mind Right, Story Right programs, looking at that, how do defence members tell their story, articulate their skills, translate their skills into a corporate environment, and also make some of those identity shifts we've been talking about. What's been the value, or what's been the feedback so far? Because we're only about halfway through. I know we had a check-in meeting the other week. What's been the feedback?
Yeah, firstly, the genesis was knowing that we had an opportunity to do something different. There's plenty of mentoring programs out there that corporate organisations can tap into. You know, we've got our Veterans SA mentoring program, which is very wide-ranging and quite successful. We wanted to put an internal BAE flavour on it. So being able to, one, educate and uplift the skills, experience of certain people who had a willingness to volunteer and guide and mentor others, first and foremost, and then also provide an additional carrot as to why people should come into BAE. And we know that people transitioning straight out of defence into a large corporate organisation like ourselves, they're going to have some challenges along the way, and we don't want them to slip through the cracks. So offering them to come on board as a mentee, we felt would be a great opportunity to secure them and retain them long term. It's well known that success, fulfilling, rewarding employment is a large part of successful transition from whatever service organisation you come from. So that was the genesis. We looked around, there was nothing like that focused in our community, in the veteran community. So that led us to a chat with yourselves. We want to be able to prove this out. It's very much a prototype. We've got a dozen people on the first ones, and we want to learn and understand how it works, why it's different from a standard mentoring program, and then offer that out for MESHA to deliver more widely into other organisations. The difference is based around the programs that MESHA already deliver. So we get our mentors and mentees together. There's always a lot of socialising, getting to know each other first and foremost as the foundation, and then put them through the cultural awareness training, story write and mind write. And that's shared experience that mentors and mentees go through, and they're able to connect at an individual level. And we've seen some fantastic immediate outcomes of those relationships being able to develop so quickly over the period of 3 days, which then manifests itself into a successful mentoring-mentee relationship. So we're about 5 months in now. We got some of the pairings wrong, as you do with mentoring programs, but both those people have transitioned to other mentors and mentees and have moved forward because they've got the right attitude and really want to move forward with it.
Yeah, awesome. And do you see it influencing promotional pathways as well?
Absolutely. I'm seeing some individual outcomes because we've got a dozen. We've got great individual connection from a guidance committee. There's some great confidence that's been developed. One of our mentees has already taken a promotion sideways from workplace health and safety role into a senior business development role, and I have no doubt that's because of the confidence and the guidance and mentoring that he received in those first couple of months. I think time will tell how far this can get individuals, but I would say that the content of the training and how this has been packaged up by the MESHA team was absolutely fantastic. Some feedback that we got from someone that I work very closely with, who is a reservist of 8-9 years, been with BAE for about the same time, is in his late 20s, lots of life experience, as much as a late 20-year-old can have. He said it is the single best training he has ever done, those 3 days put together. So we had our TA staff, our talent acquisition and HR staff come along as well to that first day, the cultural awareness, and they've taken that back in, and they're like little ants sharing the knowledge, and you got to go and get on this, you got to go get that. Now I understand what this CV means, and when they say they were a clearance diver, what that actually was, and things like that. So it's really simple stuff, but we underestimated how the simple stuff just wasn't widely known, and yeah, prototype, end of the year we should know, but I've got some pretty good odds that it's going to be successful.
It's a good point. The talent acquisition team that were in that first training, I remember they were writing notes furiously, and we've had the same experience through the Veterans SA program, that it's the talent acquisition teams that are getting a lot of value about thinking about how they can reduce barriers but also support the pathways for veterans. So amazing. Thank you so much, Jeremy. And we're down to our lucky last Murray. So Murray, you're our research officer in the research team of 6 of us doing research, and we've been implementing new and exciting modalities to support veterans and emergency services. Could you please tell me about the project that you're leading at MESHA, which involves that?
Absolutely. So I'm the project lead on the virtual reality meditation program at the Jamie Larkham Centre, which I've been lucky enough to work with Celeste Armstrong, the senior occupational therapist there, and Rosie as well. So the program is a 6-session virtual reality application called TRIP. And essentially we're looking at the acceptability, so whether veterans like using the program, whether it's also feasible to run the program at the Jamie Larkham Centre, and how that can be facilitated in the future. And we're also looking at the impact, so not just the psychological impact, but also the physical impact. We've had some fantastic results so far, with one participant indicating that they have like a locked shoulder essentially, and all the muscles in their shoulder have been, there's a hell of a lot of tension essentially. And they indicated that usually it takes about 3 weeks of physiotherapy to actually reduce and relax that group of muscles in their shoulder. And when they engaged in the VR program, they actually found that it was the program actually was able to release that group of muscles within about 3 minutes of starting the program, which I think is pretty incredible. We've also had quite a few participants indicate that they have reduced their reliance on pharmaceutical interventions, which I think is quite promising. I mean, obviously it needs a lot further development and research in this space to be able to demonstrate that can be furthered. But yeah, we're really excited about the results, and yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And I know you're also surprised by some of the participants that you thought might not have engaged as well in the program that have, and different ages and things like that. What are some of the learnings that you've had so far from the program?
So the learnings that I've had so far, that we need to implement new interventions and new modalities and adjunct therapies on top of usual care, especially within the veteran inpatient population. That's going to be crucial in supporting the well-being of veterans. Yeah.
And learning new skills, I guess, they can also
Certainly.
then take home in terms of mindfulness. And
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome. And so I guess lastly, so you've been working with some of the JLC staff. What have you enjoyed about this work?
For me, I've got a long family history within the military and emergency services as well, but this program specifically is for veterans. But it's giving back to a community that has meant so much to me throughout my life. That's been a real privilege, to be honest, and hearing the stories about veterans has been a real privilege. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Murray. We love having you on the team. And so do you want to just tell us a little bit about the demonstration that's going to be happening out in the room behind us, and the opportunity for anyone who would like to perhaps have a go at the virtual reality tools? Do you want to just talk us through what that project involves? Because that's a different research project as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's actually art therapy. So today we won't be looking at meditation. It's the art therapy, which is being conducted by Amy Sinning, who's one of our honours candidates. Put up your hand, Amy. Yeah. So see us afterwards, and we'll be happy to show you a program called Tilt Brush, which is essentially a new way to enhance the art therapy that we offer at MESHA through Karen Foxwell, who unfortunately can't be with us today. But yeah, it's essentially enhancing that experience within art therapy, and that's available to not just veterans and current serving military personnel, but also emergency service personnel and their families.
Yeah, and that project's supported by Flinders and the expertise of Belinda and the Flinders team, who's had a lot of experience with virtual reality projects. So it's great to have Amy involved as an honours student from Flinders. So yeah, so feel free to go and have a try. And that pretty much wraps up our panel session.